Last week, Stroud constituency was lucky because we had visits from two of our shadow ministerial team. Maria Eagle, who's the shadow Secretary of State for Environment, Food and Rural Affairs, came to talk about the badger cull. Rather, she came to talk about why we're opposed to the badger cull and what we will do when we get into office. Now, the reason I invited her to Stroud is that we are literally the only place in the country which has been carrying out a fully funded and coherent vaccination trial. Various other organisations like the Wildlife Trusts and the National Trust have been doing their own work on vaccinating badgers, but we in Stroud are lucky because we've got this full-scale trial. So she came to hear about that, but also she came to make it clear that we will only agree to any measures that are fully backed up by science, and we will have no truck with the notion that the cull should continue as a government, and Owen Paterson in particular is wanting to be the case. So it was good to work with her on that issue and some of the people who have been campaigning, and indeed those who've been out with the wounded badger trial. But the main thing and the point to stress is that we will only agree to any activity if it's backed by science, and clearly the cull isn't backed by science and the vaccination strategy is. Later in the week we had a visit by Roberta Blackman-Woods, who is our shadow planning minister. Now, given the importance of planning in the Stroud constituency and the threat of development all over the district, it was vital that we invited her here, and pleasingly she came along and listened to what we had to say. She visited various sites, including Mankley Field, where there is about to start a full-scale appeal against the refusal of Stroud District to develop on that site. What Roberta said was that although Labour does support the notion of the national policy planning framework, they feel that local authorities have been forced to put in place far too quickly their local plans and are being penalised in the interim by effectively a rash of development, which is completely unacceptable. But she also went on to talk about the need for neighbourhood plans, but properly resourced and properly supported neighbourhood plans, and also this idea that if you don't use the planning permissions within a specified period of time, now some of us would argue that needs to be within 3 years, but we also talked about whether the planning should be completed within 5 years, and if you don't actually get that done, then you lose that planning permission. That would concentrate the minds of the developers. In Stroud alone there are something like 4,000 unspent permissions, and that would solve our problem overnight. We would have sufficient housing for all the demands that are being put on us, and I don't understand why this government, and certainly I have to hope the next one, are far more trenchant in demanding that developers keep to their side of the bargain. It's all well and good going around getting the permissions and land banking, but we want to see when they've got those permissions that they take the action not just for housing but also for employment and other uses. So 2 good visits. Really important we get people here to see what we do in Stroud, but also we get their support so that the next Labour government can really move forward both in the terms of animal welfare issues but also in terms of the planning issue.